Today, we'll talk about the current state of the cryptocurrency market and discuss why it's during periods of calm that strong trends are born. We look at the potential of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB. Right now, there's no major news background in the market, and insiders are staying quiet while quietly accumulating large positions. So make yourself comfortable and enjoy watching. And now it's time to determine the winner among those who commented with the closest or most accurate Bitcoin price prediction. Let's check it out. Bitcoin is currently priced at $109,510. We received 28 comments, and now we're looking for the person who gave the closest or most accurate Bitcoin price. This one was very close, very close. 109,400. Alex Odessa was also very close. And of course, we have a winner who used a little trick and left their comment the latest. But still, of course, they won, and I'm going to show you who it is now. If someone had written a comment with the exact or approximate Bitcoin price before him, then of course the person who left the first correct number would have won. But since he had the closest number, and he doesn't know when we're going to record the video, right? Or maybe we would have recorded the video yesterday. Or today we're recording the video, right? As of today, July 3rd. So that's unknown. That's why, of course, we determined the closest price. And the winner of this comment guessed the price as $109,450. And their comment is number 2, Cult of Devils. Congratulations to you. You have won 50 USDT. Please send us your wallet address, and we will definitely send you the prize. And you can participate in our contest. Yes. Just leave a comment with the exact price of Bitcoin that you think it will be in the next episode. And maybe next time we'll choose you. Over there and over there. Everyone is buying. People are buying there and buying here. They dumped it and then completely flipped it around. But this is a scam. It will get shut down. A Bitcoin pyramid scheme. $6,000 per Bitcoin. Have you noticed that the biggest money is made precisely during the times when everyone is silent? For example, who remembers the coronavirus? Back then, it seemed like nothing was signaling such a rapid surge in the cryptocurrency market. But those surges happened in a completely quiet environment. And only after that did everyone start shouting that Bitcoin was approaching a new all-time high. And of course, after that, there was a strong, prolonged dump. But before that, everyone was silent. Everyone is used to reacting to loud statements, big news launched by mass media, flashy headlines, and pronouncements from important people. But experienced players in this market know very well that quiet times are the best times to accumulate positions. When everyone starts shouting, that's exactly when you should be selling. So what could be worse than a negative news background? For example, when China bans mining on a global scale, right? Or similar news when something global and serious happens, that's exactly the moment when you should be buying. You should buy for the simple reason that this is how markets work. And there's no other way. For example, when China released the news that it was banning mining at the state level, that news had been in preparation for about a year. And of course, everyone was being fed the idea that a certain level, the $6,000 zone at the time, was unbreakable. Man, $6,000 for Bitcoin? It's hard to believe it happened so quickly. Bitcoin just shot past 100,000. Yeah, of course, when I bought my first coins for $450, $1,000, right? For $500 or $600, I thought maybe it would be worth $100,000, maybe even $1 million someday. But the fact that it's actually happening right here and now, that's just mind-blowing. Bitcoin is already at 100,000. Back when people said that the $6,000 mark was unbreakable, and of course then the news came out that $6,000 had been broken, but only for one reason, because mining was banned at the state level in China. That global news, of course, played a huge role. But again, experienced players who understand the market, who know how to read charts and analyze the market, could clearly see that the 6,000 mark was going to be broken. Because there were many approaches to that 6,000 zone. There were certain formations patterns and indicators were screaming that a dump was coming. Of course, they dumped it and then completely flipped the news background to negative. And when it seemed like Bitcoin was worth $20,000, at that moment it dropped to $3,000. Well, logically, that's when you should buy. But the news background works in such a way as to scare you and prevent you from buying. Or, on the contrary, to make you buy so they can sell themselves. It's important to keep this in mind. Of course, most people stay silent about this, or someone does talk about it, but most people simply don't hear it. They still think about what the media says at the moment. The more attention is focused on what they're saying here, there, and everywhere. Everyone is buying there, buying here, and buying there. Of course, it's psychologically easier to buy then. It's much harder to buy during a sharp dip, when everything and everyone is practically saying it's a scam, it's gonna shut down, Bitcoin is a pyramid scheme, and all sorts of other things. Naturally, it's hard to deal with that. It's important to pay attention to this, to clearly understand and know that Bitcoin isn't going anywhere from the market, because it's already a large ecosystem that operates thanks to each of us. Any one of us today can become a miner. Any one of us today can transfer Bitcoin from any point to another. And the Bitcoin network will continue to exist for these very reasons, because there are users, not just some group of people or someone controlling Bitcoin. No, it's an absolutely closed, decentralized system as opposed to a centralized one. That's where all the advantage lies. That's why Bitcoin, Ethereum at the very least, is CoinSand, of course, BNB, because Binance Coin isn't going anywhere since it's backed by the largest cryptocurrency exchange. That's why there's also significant growth. They're expecting a major economic boom, since only a tiny fraction of total capital has been invested in this market so far, and it's still in its infancy. But this will happen very quickly, because now access to information and the speed at which information is transmitted have increased tremendously. If it took the internet 10 or 20 years to reach such a scale, then Bitcoin will need at least 2, 3, or even 5 times less time to grow. And it's important to keep that in mind. Now, let's move on to analyzing the charts for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB. So let's start by looking at Bitcoin. Bitfinex exchange, and we'll start by looking at the 3-month time frame since it closed 3 days ago. The 3-month time frame has closed, and of course, it plays a very important and significant role in the cryptocurrency market. The older the time frame, the more significant and important it is. What can we see here? That Bitcoin has consolidated with a bar, the body of the candle, yes, even higher than all the previous ones. So, what does this mean? It means that for the next approximately 3 months, for the next quarter, Bitcoin is likely to show positive growth dynamics. This is exactly what the current bars are indicating. We still have an uptrend, including on the monthly and 3-month time frames. And this is a very important sign for the continuation of this trend. Let's move on to a smaller one, switching to the monthly time frame. And here we can see that our growth potential continues, since the figure for Bitcoin, both psychologically and technically, is at the $100,000 mark. $100,000 there was confirmation once, and then a second month as well. Above the values, above the previous highs. Therefore, the positive upward trend remains, and most likely will continue for at least 3 months. It's an interesting time, because during the summer period, usually all crypto enthusiasts, all the old-timers, especially those from 2014, 2015, 2016, you can confirm this in the comments, know that summer is typically a discount season. In the summer, the market usually dumps, crashes, but it looks like not this year, not this time. That's it. But how it will actually turn out, of course, we'll see for ourselves in due time. But right now, technically, everything looks very, very promising according to candlestick analysis on the 3-month and monthly timeframes. We open our chart and see the positive trend continues. $100,000 is there. And accordingly, there's a range where movement might happen without any corrections, without any major delays, yes. Or it could just be a dynamic, steady rise all the way up to about $150,000, maybe $155,000. We have a free flight, a flight of falling, a free flight. That's it. Maybe, by the way, it wasn't a slip of the tongue because we do have overbought conditions again on the RSI. But we will compare many factors, yes, and still look more closely at what the market is showing us. And of course, we'll base our decisions on that. Yes, the RSI is overbought, but again, the RSI can remain overbought, as you can see, for a very long time. For example, from January 2017 all the way to the end of 2017 and the beginning of 2018, the RSI was in the overbought zone. So for me personally, that's not really a signal. I'm speaking strictly about my own analysis and what actions I personally will take in this market. So for now, the RSI is taking a backseat. Yes, it's clear that it's overbought. It's clear that the trend will eventually come to an end, but not anytime soon, right? But I think the uptrend could last another 6 months to a year, after which a corrective move will most likely follow. And then after that, on to new, even higher highs. But let's see how things actually play out. What do we actually see right now? For me, nothing is more significant than the level, right? And the $100,000 level is holding, and as long as it hasn't been broken, as long as the candles, the bars are above these levels, the Bitcoin price is aiming for $155,000. Only after reaching $155,000 might there be a pause here, some kind of corrective move, possibly a retest back to $100,000, and then a further move upward. But for now, it's just empty space. The scenario is a move that is, the magnet is $155,000. The scenario of moving up to $155,000 can only change in one case. If a candlestick bar closes below the $100,000 level, in that case, the zone around 70 and possibly even $60,000 will act as a magnet, since that's already a historical high, and in my opinion, it hasn't been tested yet. It hasn't been tested since that breakout. There could be a move to this area because it's already quite strong. That's it. But again, this could happen either from those levels or from the current ones. It's important to keep an eye on the $100,000 mark right now. That's it. But it's very unlikely that Bitcoin will drop from the current levels, since we do have a consolidation above on the higher timeframes. That's why Bitcoin has the potential to grow to $155,000. That's it. Right now, of course, long positions are more preferable than short positions, and with a fairly tight stop loss. That's it. That's basically all I have for Bitcoin for now. Let's move on to Ethereum now. For Ethereum, we're also looking at the 3-month time frame, and the 3-month time frame shows that the consolidation was quite solid, right? So here, the 3-month time frame hit a level, and this level has proven itself well. The bears tried to push it down, but the bulls bought it all back, and bought it back quite well, especially for a 3-month time frame B, as much as 30, about 33% with a wick, and if you count up to the bar, 81, 70%, right? So that's about 82%. But they tried to buy it back by as much as 106%, even 107%. That's a very large, significant buyback. And of course, this gives an understanding that the market is strong. Here we can see that Ethereum's volumes are increasing, the buying power is rising, and the 3-month and 1-month timeframes look quite positive. This is the level I mentioned a few videos ago, that the candle closed above it, and so far it hasn't been broken. So a corrective movement is to be expected. It happened. And now we see that the candle actually closed right at the very level, which once again demonstrates the strength of the market. And right now, there hasn't even been any pullback, and the market continues to move forward. Well, here this can basically be interpreted as a hammer. Ethereum has growth potential, and it's significant, it remains intact. The market wasn't pushed down, the market isn't being lowered, and the corrective move that went downward actually only benefited those who weren't afraid to buy. That's it. What should we be watching for now? We have good levels, around $2,850 or so. If it consolidates, Bitcoin will confidently move toward the $4,000 zone. Of course, the $4,000 zone is a key level, and breaking above it will give the market the opportunity to move dynamically toward around $7,200, and then further and further and further. So the growth potential for Ethereum this year from current levels I see as at least possibly 6 times. Again, I'll repeat, if you can multiply your Ethereum or Bitcoin holdings, and I do recommend increasing your cryptocurrency assets at this time because based on our experience and that of our investors, it's clear that those who accumulate cryptocurrency assets always outperform investors who simply grow their dollar holdings over the long run. And this has been a fact throughout basically the 9 years of our work. That's it. So the growth potential is enormous, truly colossal, even making 50 or 100% profit. That's like a tenfold return on such a strong, solid asset. And that's without getting into all sorts of junk coins, right? So that's why the growth potential for Ethereum is huge. And it's significant, not just when you look at the chart against USDT, but also when you look at Ethereum against Bitcoin. Ethereum to Bitcoin is currently at its lowest point in 2025, at the same lows as in 2019. We haven't seen this in 6 years, right? In other words, this is the lowest point we've had in the last 6 years. Accordingly, the scenario for the market exit has changed a bit. They changed the exit for Bitcoin, moved it ahead, and dumped Ethereum. Even though last year they were saying that Ethereum had huge growth potential, they ended up showing the opposite. And now the chart is indicating something different, right? Again, what I mentioned at the beginning of the video and what I'm showing now at the start is the news background. Here, it's technical analysis, pure dry mathematics and calculations, which show us that Ethereum to Bitcoin is at its historical lows. You could even say that, right? Since 2019, that's why it has enormous growth potential. And in percentage terms, Ethereum will, of course, outpace Bitcoin right now. And it will outpace it by a lot. We have a good green bar. The price wasn't even pushed down much, so I don't even see another double bottom forming there. Yes, from the current levels, you can confidently keep moving upward. If the area around 0.045 is broken, yes, this descending line, there will be a further and further rally to new and higher highs. So in my opinion, Ethereum against Bitcoin looks very strong and promising. Now let's take a look at BNB to USDT. BNB to USDT looks great. It's clear that things are going well for the Binance exchange, and we know this very well since it's the largest exchange by liquidity and trading volume. From a technical analysis perspective, I consider this period to be one of accumulation. And right now, on the monthly time frame, a bullish flag is forming. A bullish flag with the potential to break out to $2,300. Technically, everything points to BNB to USDT reaching this price in the near future. In addition to this, we also have the Fibonacci retracement, which confirms almost exact right around here will be the breakout point. Yes, I think it might take another 1 or 2 months, and then a very, very dynamic growth will follow. But it's possible this could happen sooner, yet everything points to a tremendous surge. The price will reach its peaks at around $2,300, and only after that will there possibly be a corrective movement. That's it. The scenario could, of course, be cancelled. I leave that at maybe 10 to 20% at most, right? Anything is possible. And that also needs to be taken into account. It can only change if it consolidates and drops below about 560, 580 USDT per Binance coin. Anything above that is potential for growth up to as much as $2,300. So basically, that's what I wanted to say about the market, right? Those are my comments on it. I've shared my point of view and my analysis, basically. You know, when you sit down at your work chart and answer certain questions for yourself when choosing a particular position, I try to talk you through that as well. I hope this was useful for you. If it was, give it a thumbs up and leave your comments. I'd be happy to read them. And thank you for your attention and your engagement. See you next time, and goodbye.